Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. They glowed with their usual warmth, the familiar halo that had followed Kelly Ripa through decades of mornings, laughter, and live television magic. But on this day, the light felt different, brighter, harsher, almost cruel. It revealed everything. Every tremble in her hands, every breath she struggled to steady, every emotion she could no longer hide. Kelly sat in her chair, smiling the way she always did, the smile millions had grown up with. But something was missing. Or rather, someone. Mark was not beside her. The audience sensed it before she spoke. The silence stretched longer than usual, thick and uncomfortable, the kind that presses on the chest. Kelly glanced toward the empty space where Mark's presence had always felt so constant, whether on camera or just beyond it. Her fingers tightened around her cue cards, and for a moment she looked down, as if gathering courage from the words printed there. When she looked up again, her eyes were already shining. "Good morning," she began, her voice soft, wavering at the edges. I didn't think this would be easy." That was all it took. Across living rooms, kitchens, hospital waiting rooms, and coffee shops, fans leaned closer to their screens. Phones were lifted. Social feeds began to stir. Something important was happening. Kelly took a breath, then another. "Today isn't just another show," she said quietly. "Today is a goodbye." The word landed like a dropped glass, sharp, final, impossible to ignore. Her composure cracked. Tears welled up, spilling freely now, unapologetic. This was not the polished host, not the quick-witted morning queen who could turn any moment into laughter. This was a woman standing at the edge of something deeply personal, something that had reshaped her world. "For years," Kelly continued, her voice breaking, "Mark has been my partner in every sense of the word, on screen, off screen, in the chaos and in the quiet moments no one ever sees." She paused, pressing her hand to her chest as if to hold her heart together. "And saying goodbye to that? It's harder than I ever imagined." The audience was silent. No applause, no murmurs, just stillness. Behind the scenes, crew members wiped away tears. Cameramen held their frames steady, though their hands shook. This was live television, but it felt more like a shared vigil. Kelly spoke of mornings that began before sunrise, of whispered jokes during commercial breaks, of stolen glances that said, "I've got you," without a single word. She spoke of growth, of time, of how life sometimes changes its shape without asking permission. "Mark taught me how to be brave," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not the loud kind of brave, the quiet kind. The kind where you show up even when your heart feels like it might break." At home, fans were crying openly. Social media exploded with messages. "We're with you, Kelly. Thank you, Mark. This hurts like family." Some viewers admitted they had never realized how deeply the duo had woven themselves into their daily lives until this moment. Kelly looked into the camera now, directly at the audience. "I know you feel this too," she said, "because you invited us into your lives every morning. You let us be part of your routines, your joys, your hard days." Her tears fell freely now, no longer brushed away. "This goodbye isn't just mine, it's ours." She reached for a small object resting on the desk, a photo worn at the edges. It showed a younger Kelly and Mark, laughing, unguarded, caught in a moment that belonged only to them. She held it carefully, as if it were fragile. "There are things I'll never say on camera, things that belong to our family, but I want you to know this. What we shared was real, and real things don't disappear just because the chapter ends." Her voice steadied, just slightly. "Mark may not be here beside me the way he once was, but he will always be part of every step I take forward." The studio lights dimmed a fraction, almost respectfully. Kelly stood then, slowly, as if her legs weren't quite ready to hold her. She placed the photo down, smoothing it with her fingertips. To Mark, thank you for the love, the laughter, the lessons. Thank you for standing with me when the world was watching and when it wasn't. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the silence speak. When she opened them again, there was pain there, but also something else. Gratitude, strength, a quiet resolve that moved through the room like a steady heartbeat. The applause came then, rising gently at first, then swelling into something powerful. It wasn't loud for the sake of noise. It was a collective embrace, thousands of hands clapping as one, saying,
Kelly nodded,
"We see."
pressing a hand to her lips. She mouthed, "Thank you," though no sound came out. As the show cut to commercial, the cameras caught one last image. Kelly standing alone on the stage, shoulders squared, eyes red but shining. Not broken, not defeated, just human. And outside that studio, the world kept reacting. Fans shared stories of how Kelly and Mark had been part of their mornings through divorces, illnesses, new jobs, and sleepless nights with newborns. Some wrote about watching the show with parents who were no longer alive. Others spoke of how that familiar banter had once been the only laughter in their homes. "This feels like losing a friend," one post read. "No words," said another, "just tears." Even celebrities chimed in, offering messages of support and admiration. They praised Kelly's honesty, her vulnerability, her courage in letting the world see her heart in its rawest form. But beyond the headlines and hashtags, beyond the clips replayed again and again, there was a quieter truth unfolding. Goodbyes are rarely just about endings. They are about honoring what was, about carrying love forward even when the path changes, about learning to stand in the echo of something beautiful and still believe in tomorrow. Later that day, Kelly shared a simple message online. No long statement, no dramatic photos, just 3 words. "Forever grateful, always." The comments flooded in within seconds. As night fell, viewers replayed the moment once more. The trembling voice, the tears, the bravery it took to say goodbye in front of millions. And while sadness lingered, so did something else. Hope. Because even in heartbreak, Kelly had reminded the world of something powerful. Love doesn't vanish when a chapter ends. It transforms. It lives on in memories, in gratitude, in the courage to keep going. And somewhere beyond the lights and cameras, beyond the applause and the silence, the story continued. Changed, yes, but still meaningful, still real, still deeply, achingly human.
The silence was louder than the applause had been. Kelly walked slowly down the corridor, heels echoing softly against the floor she had crossed thousands of times before. Crew members stood aside, giving her space, their eyes filled with sympathy and respect. Some reached out briefly, hands squeezing her arm, shoulders brushing hers, small gestures that carried unspoken support. She nodded, offering faint smiles, but her thoughts were far away. For years, this hallway had been a place of routine, laughter, rushed greetings, inside jokes whispered between takes, and always, somewhere nearby, Mark, sometimes teasing her, sometimes steadying her, always there. Now, every step reminded her of the absence. Inside her dressing room, Kelly closed the door gently behind her. The quiet wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. She leaned against the door for a moment, finally letting the strength drain from her body. The tears returned, slower this time, deeper. These were not the tears of live television. These were the tears that belonged only to her. She looked around the room, photos pinned to the mirror, handwritten notes taped to the walls, mementos from years that had flown by too quickly. Her reflection stared back at her, eyes red but resolute. "I did it," she whispered to herself. "I said goodbye." The word still felt unreal. Kelly sank into the chair and picked up her phone. Hundreds of messages waited. Friends, family, colleagues, people she hadn't spoken to in years. And fans, thousands of them. Messages filled with love, heartbreak, gratitude. One message stopped her breath. "You helped me get through losing my husband. Watching you today reminded me that it's okay to fall apart and still move forward." Kelly pressed the phone to her chest. This was why she had spoken, why she hadn't hidden, why she had let the world see her break. Because pain, when shared, becomes connection. As the day faded into evening, clips from the show continued to spread. News outlets replayed her words. Commentators spoke in hushed tones, calling it one of the most emotional moments in morning television history. But none of them truly captured what fans felt. For many, Kelly and Mark weren't just hosts on a screen. They were ritual, comfort, familiarity in an unpredictable world.